Yeah. From a podcast, did this kind of reinstate that passion you had for films?
You know what it was honestly, there's a lot of things. I wanted to correct what I felt was my only regret on Red State. Like, I took Red State out myself, and I'm so happy I did, and it was like my break with the treadmill of like the system and the money and stuff like that, just being able to step off of it and stuff. And I thought I was done directing. I was going to retire and stuff. Like, I four-walled my own movie. I'd self-distributed. I'd been distributed. I was like, that's it. I thought I was out of interesting things to say, because I used to make the movies came right out of me. Like, Clerks is because I was a clerk, and Mallrats because I hung out with my friends at the mall, and Chasing Amy. I had that relationship. With Dogma, I was raised Catholic. So all that stuff was me. It wasn't really like movies or ideas for movies and stuff. It was like, what happened to me? Okay, I'll just translate that. And one day, I stripped my entire life, and I had nothing interesting left to say unless I was going to be like, okay, this movie's about a guy who makes movies for a living and wears hockey jerseys. You know, it's like I'd stopped living a real life because I just make movies for a living. So at that point, man, like, you know, I thought I was done. I thought I was like, oh, I'll just kind of step outside and go podcast. And I fell in love with my podcasting medium, and I built that business and into a touring business. There's no money in podcasting, as we all know, but if you use it correctly, you know, it's great gateway to your live shows. People listen to your free shows just like the radio. They listen to your free shows online, and then when you show up in town, they come see you live. And that's how I lived for like the last 3 years after walking away from movies. So I loved smodcast.com. The notion of taking a podcast and turning it into a movie was such a turn on for this middle-aged fat man. Like, you know, it was like, oh my, that's different. You know, it's like, I just want to go through some doors first. I don't care if they're the stupid doors or doors that nobody else wants to go through, but like, as an artist, or if you think yourself an artist, it'll probably be years before I can actually be an artist, but as I try to apply my craft and try to become an artist, you know, you just sit there going like, do something different, show them something different, like just take them to a place that you liked going when you were a kid. Show them the movies that you loved growing up, man. Like, I grew up watching the 4:30 movie on Channel 7 when I was a kid, and it was Apes Week, Nature Gone Awry Week, Godzilla Week, Rubber, always Rubber, you know? And I grew up when cable hit finally, the suburbs in the early 80s, and all the movies they programmed were rubber monsters and rubber killers and slasher movies and stuff. So these were the movies that I grew up loving. David Cronenberg, David Lynch, the Coen brothers, Quentin, of course, later on, but all the movies that were on the edge, From Beyond, Reanimator. But I couldn't make those movies. I could make Clerks because that came from real life, but I couldn't make those other movies. It took me 20 years build up a skill set of just making other movies about normalcy, or, you know, if you consider Clerks normal, but making movies about nothing really all that special, with the exception of the Poop Monster and Dogma. It's the only real rubber work. So it took me like 2 decades to get to a point where I was like, well, I'm out of interesting things to say, but I do have the ability to make a movie, and I would like to see a movie about a guy who turns another guy into a walrus. And that's the alchemy that gets us to Tusk.
Jimmy O and Joe Blow, who with my old friend.
Yes.
Haven't seen it's way
in
too
a long time. Yeah.
Why did you miss Comic-Con first?
Well, I was doing a play. I was doing
Okay.
Treading the Boards up at Williamstown Theater Festival.
Nice.
I hope this doesn't end up in print, because then that'll sound like I really said treading the boards. So then I run away.
No print.
Okay,
No print.
good.
We're good.
Good. Doing a play, and then I hernia. Kevin said at Comic-Con that I had hernia, something about my hernia, but it wasn't. I did in fact have a hernia, but that was not related to me doing the play. I could have come with the hernia to
Did you
Comic-Con.
go full walrus with the hernia?
I think going full walrus maybe it contributed to my hernia. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
I'm not.
Yeah.
No, okay. What is this suit? Can you explain? I mean,
It was the great Robert Kurtzman who did it like over the course of a couple weeks. I mean, he had no time to do it because Kevin had the idea and the ball just started rolling. And Kurtzman did it in like no time. It was they would do about 3.5 hours prosthetics on the face, and then they attached this cowl, and then they would just shove me into this suit. That's gross. Sorry about that. Yeah, they would just shove me in the. Hope you're watching this with no sound. They'd shove me in the suit, and then they would. I'd poke my head through the hole. Also kind of gross. And they would just snap on the. This is gross too. I hope you're not watching this without any sound. They just snap on the tusks. Like
that's really not what we're talking about. This is all subliminal. There's more.
Yeah, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
And some of you out there know
Yeah.
what's going on.
How long did this take?
So it was about, I'd say 4.5 hours, the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah, from beginning to tusks.
And whiskers too. Don't forget the whiskers.
And the whiskers. Well, you know what's funny? That's one of the reasons I wanted the mustache. He felt like a mustache guy.
Yeah.
You know, like kind of a slick. That was his persona that he had cultivated. Kind of like a Bruno Kirby type guy. Hey, sort of like. So it felt like appropriate for that, but also I thought it'd be kind of cool to have some foreshadowing, and I thought they were going to incorporate it into the prosthetics. I thought they were going to use my. And they tried, and it ended up looking too comical. Like it looked like Groucho Marx and a walrus fucked, and had some sad. Sorry,
That's all right.
I said Groucho Marx. They don't want me to mention that.
Oh, okay.
Marx
No,
Brothers, any other-
no Marx Brothers mention. We won't do that. Now, this is a pretty. Wallace is pretty. He's kind of an asshole.
He's an asshole. Yeah,
He's kind of an
we
asshole.
can say it.
Where did you get this from? I read that you were looked at DJs and stuff like that. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's kind of cruel.
Yeah, I listened to. He reminded me of one of those like drive time radio. You know, there's always like David Cross does a really funny bit about it. Where he's like, "There's the crazy guy and the crazier guy," and they're always like, "Hey, this is Steven the Turtle Man," and it's very mean spirited humor for the most part, and he's laughing at other people's expense, and he seemed like one of those guys, one of those like Howard Stern wannabe guys. I love Howard Stern, but you know, there is that kind of, they call it cringe humor in the movie.
Yeah.
So he felt like, and there are comedians that I watched who I don't want to name, but you know who they are, and
I do.
he reminded me of one of those guys. Yeah, and a guy that had just was compassionless and kind of lost his humanity in a lot of ways. And I felt like it might be easier to see that guy go through the things that I have to go through than, you know, the nice guy that you're rooting for.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to see you go through that.
Thanks. That means a lot to me.
No, okay, I remember you talking about this movie, and I don't think I was even close to prepared with what I got.
I'm so glad, Jimmy.
What did you see? What did you deal with? Did you deal with Justin in the costume going full walrus?
Not so much. That's what's so interesting is that our whole plot line is kind of trying to find him, and so I think it was nice that we saw a little bit of the creature work on set, but not so much. You know, our experience was with Justin as a human being, so seeing him transformed was disturbing in a cool way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you actually get to act out opposite him in costume at all?
With the
or-
reaction?
Briefly, just throwing a couple fish.
The fish.
Yeah. The tree. I gave him some treats. You know.
Yeah, we gave him some.
Well, that was nice of you.
Yes.
Okay, talk about you guys' on-screen relationship. This is really cool. I liked it a lot. How much time did you guys get to prepare and get to kind of work with each other?
Not long, but
No.
luckily we all it
became
was a
fast
15-day
friends.
shoot, so we went, karaokeing in Belmont, North Carolina, the one bar there
great
the
time.
first night.
course.
It was such a cool group of people that, and had bonded around this odd movie,
Yes.
And one, I think the biggest testament to that is that we had all this stuff, the stuff about Johnny Depp, the stuff about the Walrus was all over the place, not a small crew, but a pretty big crew. And Kevin just asked nicely, please don't post it on the internet, and nobody did.
Nobody did.
Which was
Well,
kind of
still
cool.
people don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, still, but I wasn't even going to say anything, but you sat
Alright.
across from him.
Yes.
What was that like?
It was awesome.
Oh my God.
It was awesome.
He's the coolest guy, I think we both went in, and it was cool because our scene, it's a very serious scene for our characters, even if it's hilarious to watch. So we went in very, very composed and very ready, and then enjoying it on the big screen was like, oh wow, that was hilarious. And,
Yes.
and it's funny because both of us are so
They're so
serious on
intense.
the set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the line where you can have a fan moment, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like,
Yeah.
hold on a second, you have to be an actor too for him. So you just have to, give him reactions and be with him so he
And
can.
he's such a chameleon.
Yeah.
If you had to be as close as we were to really get it immediately, but he's so humble and so
So
it's
cool.
not nerve-wracking to be around him because of his easygoing manner.
Coolness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did his costume help at all?
I guess so.
Because
Yeah.
The nose, the costume
wouldn't have
nose
known.
was- yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's Kevin's told this story in public, but when he went in the trailer to see what Johnny was doing, he's like, "You like my nose?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Look closer at my nose." Kevin looks closer. He goes, "See the big blue vein there?" He goes, "Doesn't it look like a penis?" Yeah. So,
That was his lifelong dream.
So he got to add a little. He always wanted to have a dick nose.
Yeah.
So he did. Yeah.
So he did. And this one.
Nice.
It's kind of
And
great.
you have your moment, which I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't. That was that weird.
So weird?
Yes.
Isn't it weird? Like, it's like, is she talking to me? Why does she have that look in her eye? And what is she doing right now? It's such a strange.
I'm feeling so insecure
moment.
because she's supposed to be talking to me, but I'm just under the camera.
Yeah,
looking
he was
away,
under the camera while we were doing
that.
it. He put a hand in. So strange. But it was like the greatest thing that ever happened. I mean, I live for a monologue, so I was like, yes.
That was when we had we're making them.
Yeah, we're making
At
a
us, they had
movie.
already had the huge Michael Parks and Justin thing. We got into set later, and after making that, it was kind of like, yeah, we put some good stuff on tape or film or whatever things are now.
It's been a while.
I miss you.
I miss you as well.
Thank you, sir. This is like my favorite people. Oh,
Look at this. I got a fan.
I know.
This one doesn't.
You look good, by the way.
That's because of her.
Yeah.
This is the person that makes me look
See.
good, ladies and gentlemen. Emily. Without her, I look like a fat piece of shit. With her, I look like a well-polished fat piece of shit.
One of my
good?
favorite people. I love this guy so much.
Feel this, dude. Take a hit.
geez. Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, my God,
Face,
dude.
neck, and chest. Isn't
I
that
wanna
insanely
be you.
powerful?
I want to be you.
You can get this
now.
online, dude. This is $1.98, and this thing is the battery pack's more expensive. There was a lady from In Demand who I was sweating like a pig yesterday, and she said, "I have this fan that works amazing," and she talked about this fan for 20 minutes. 20 minutes, and at a certain point you're just being polite, going, "Really, a good fan, is it?" and stuff. Finally, I was like, "Look," she was like, "You got to try." I was like, "If you bring me the fan after the sell you've done, I will totally use your fan and stuff." So she gave me the fan for the first time in my life. Might be the first time ever a salesman was 100% accurate. The thing was everything she promised and more. She kept saying, like, it is very powerful for a fan of its size. I said, are the blades metal? She said, no, they're plastic. You can let them hit your tongue. I was like, come on, man. She oversold this fan. And then when I used it, it turned out she didn't oversell it
It
at
is
all.
kind of fucking
It's
amazing.
crazy, right?
It's like really fucking cool.
For two grown men who've been sweating it up at Comic-Con,
Yeah.
like, to find the perfect fan, or not even perfect, one that works in your face, neck, and chest, that's a huge review. I looked for a name brand. I couldn't find it, man. I asked the lady. She said she picked it up at a bodega in Queens. And it was $1.98. I was like, that's gold. That's like stumbling into a Fabergé egg. Like, you underpaid for a miracle. Anyway.
We're fans of the fan.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what
You
we're
have to be
saying.
at Comic-Con
Yeah.
because you sweat, man. Like,
Dude, right?
Thin people sweat at Comic-Con. That's how bad it is, dude. Like, I sweat when I breathe. If I wake up, I'm just like, oh, I'm already perspiring. But at Comic-Con, you see thin people, in shape people. You see slave Leias who are wearing barely anything, sweating.
Sweating like
yeah.
fucking crazy.
And yesterday was really humid. So today's not too bad, though.
It's getting
So a
bad.
good fan is important.
Well, dude, I gotta say, this trailer kicked my ass.
Thank you.
It
It kicked
like,
my ass as
this
well.
Is a
Let me
different,
give props for the
Yeah.
trail. A24 is putting out the movie. Cats that did Spring Breakers, Under the Skin, other movies. They're like to me, they're like the Miramax of the 21st century. Like
Right.
back when I was a kid, Miramax did all the interesting movies. I was delighted to wind up there with Clerks and stuff. With A24, it's kind of like Miramax all over again. Like they're a company that's just doing the weirdest, most interesting stuff, building
Yeah.
from scratch. They all work in one room. It's kind of cool. So they were a company that I sought out because I saw what they did with Spring Breakers, and I was like, they can make the Harmony Korine movie gross double digits in the
Yeah,
21st
right,
century.
right.
These cats would know how to market a Walrus movie. So we got in bed with them, thank God, and they took the trailer to a company called Buddha Jones. And these cats cut an amazing trailer, to me amazing, because I've seen the movie. And it's amazing because they show you nothing. It's like maybe the trailer's taken from maybe 20% of the movie. So the rest of the movie is not represented. And the thing we never show you is the walrus. Like the trailer is cut in such an elegantly classy way where you're like, oh, maybe it's all in his head, like at the end of the day, because I don't see no evidence of a walrus. But I'm here to tell you, man, they sold it well like that. Because
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be some people like, I don't want to go see no movie about a guy who turns into a walrus. But presented like this, they'll be like, ooh, that looks classy. But we do flat out turn him into a walrus. Like halfway through the movie, he is in a big rubber suit going like, ugh. It will bend your mind, man. And not in a way where you're like, I feel sorry for everybody involved. What a disaster. You'll be like, holy fuck, it's a gut punch. And it lives with you like herpes for the rest of your life. You'll never be able to wash your brain of seeing the human walrus, man. And it's
gory
kind of wacky.
are you getting with
it's
this?
not. That's the weird thing.
Yeah,
It's not.
I heard you saying it's like family.
It honestly, like, well, I mean, I guess my perspective's different, but if my kid was 5, 6 years old, I would take her to this movie.
Really?
She wouldn't understand, like, most of the adult themes and stuff like that, so she'd probably be eating snacks. But the moment it got into like walrus country, it will capture a kid's imagination as well. I'm certainly not advocating people bring children, but I'm telling you, there's something about it where you're like, this is grizzly, this is horrible. Oh, he's a walrus? Oh, this is cute. It takes it to the precipice of horror. That's why I can't call it horror. It's just the whole movie feels like a descent into madness because even the audience becomes comfortable with something that is just so profane and bizarre, watching a human being become a walrus. It's nuts, kids. I can't even say it's good. I can't tell you it's bad. I could just tell you it's such an experience. Like, for me, people, you read a lot of reactions online, all I do is sequel remakes and blah, blah, blah. This movie is, I'm not saying it's the most original movie that's ever been made. It has hints of so many movies to it. Obviously, Human Centipede, obviously, Misery, Dr. Moreau with the human to animal and stuff. But for me, once you see the movie, it's like very, my Patronuses were like The Shining. I certainly wasn't trying to make The Shining, but I looked at Kubrick's composition for The Shining over and over